Uh, has there ever been a time in all your years of experience where a low-tech solution actually dramatically outperformed a complex and expensive one?
In actual fact, that's more common than not. It's more common that a simple, low cost solution is better than a complex, expensive technical solution. Generally speaking, what we find is when we map out the operation and try and create clarity, how can we get more out? How can we increase capacity? And you see, if you think of it like a pipe, so you have sales coming in one end of the pipe and completed jobs coming out the other, and there's all the steps in between. So if you want to get more water flowing through the pipe, you got to find the narrowest point in the pipe and make it bigger. Now, that narrowest point in the pipe may not require a big complicated piece of equipment or a complex system to achieve it. More often than not, it's how do we plan the work so that it goes through reliably and the process isn't kept waiting.
Welcome to the Tech Cast. We'll bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Damien Lacey, the founder of OE Partners, a consultancy focused on lean management and operational improvement. Damien is also the co-founder of a manufacturing business in Australia and has spent much of his career helping industrial companies improve efficiency and scale effectively. His background includes working as an engineer in Toyota, Japan, and over 15 years as a consultant leading business leading business transformation projects across a range of sectors. So, Damien, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ezekiel, for having me.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginnings. Take us back to the beginning of your journey. What led a young engineer from Australia to landing a role in Toyota in Japan?
Yeah. So I started working um, in Robert Bosch. This is an automotive parts supplier. There was a lot of automotive manufacturing in Australia at that time, and I joined their Bosch production system team. So this was the team that was responsible for rolling out lean manufacturing methods, different tools and ideas. And yeah, it was a great experience. So seeing those methods roll out and the impact that they can have. So I was kind of hooked on that. Now, a lot of those ideas, those tools, those methods, Kanban and visual management and workplace organization 5S, it comes from Toyota. So I was keen to learn from the source. I moved to Toyota, started working in the product development division in Australia. Um, and yeah, I was transferred from Australia to Japan, to Toyota Japan on an intercompany transfer. So it was about 3 years spent working in Toyota Japan in the technical center. So yeah, it was a great experience. And that's what sort of led me there. I had studied Japanese at university. That definitely helped, and I had some level of proficiency. So yeah, that's sort of what led me.
Great. So tell us, working with within Toyota in Japan must have been quite a masterclass in process. So, what's something they did that actually completely changed your perspective on efficiency?
Yeah, you're right. It was definitely a formative experience, shall we say. Yeah, I think probably there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things. Firstly, just the absolute commitment to quality of work. It's a very strict culture. It's a very tough, a very demanding culture. So basically, it doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's a report or a study or a drawing or some sort of specification document or a memo to a supplier, it'll be checked and it will be good quality, right? You cannot get away with doing a bad job, right? Because generally speaking, any anything that you produce will be will be reviewed by someone else. Okay, it'll be either your direct co-worker or your supervisor or your boss or your boss's boss. There'll be some sort of review, check, collaboration, and if it's rubbish, you'll find out about it very, very quickly. I can remember. We were at a meeting, myself, my boss, and there was some other department members, and there was a supplier, and I took the meeting minutes. And then after the meeting, I handed it to my supervisor to check it, make sure I got it, and I came back, and it was covered in red pen. It was just all these corrections and mistakes. I didn't get that right, and I forgot this. So yeah, I came back, and it was just it was an F minus in terms of my score. But yeah, and that's like everything. So you just get everything gets checked, and you will do a good job, or you will do no job. So that was definitely one thing. The commitment to quality and the quality of work that you do. And then the second thing is definitely that idea that you hear a lot with regards to Toyota, the commitment to continuous improvement. So always looking for a faster way of doing it, a cheaper way of doing it, a more productive way of doing it. There is just that ingrained attitude throughout the company that we have to find a way of making it cheaper, making it better, making it more reliable. It really never ends. I can remember sitting around having a product review workshop with a bunch of other engineers and picking up a part that had, let's say it's this mouse, picking up the part and looking at it and saying, okay, how do we get cost out of this? How can we get cost out of this? Can we change the shape of that so it doesn't require an underdraft? That might make the tooling a bit cheaper. This label, can we, instead of having a label, can we laser print it on it? What about this material? Can we, just constantly thinking and rethinking of how to get cost out, how to get improvement. That definitely was noticeably different. Just that, relentless commitment to continuous improvement.
Well, sounds interesting. So tell us, you founded a consultancy company, OE Partners. So tell us about OE Partners and what you do there and the people that you actually founded this company for, like the specific persons you are targeting.
Yeah, sure. So OE stands for Operational Excellence. And we are a management consultancy and training company. So generally, we are working with manufacturing, warehouse distribution, construction, prefab construction companies. Lots of our customers, they've got physical processes where they're making things, and generally, it's companies that are growing and they want to become more productive. So they want to, increase their capacity by 10%, 50%, sometimes double their capacity. And they're looking for help as to how to do that. How do we redesign our processes? What systems do we need? What's the best manufacturing solution for us? All of these questions that come up when they're trying to increase their capacity. And so we will help them do that. Sometimes it's about cost reduction. They want to reduce their costs to improve their profitability, but and that's always there, but it's generally around growth and productivity.
Interesting. So, can you tell us what was the vision behind founding your consultancy, that's OE Partners?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it started when in Australia, the automotive industry pretty much wound up. Government withdrew a lot of the support and subsidies for the industry, and Australia's a small market comparatively. So that was sort of the genesis of consulting to other companies in Australia. The automotive industry is it's a very mature, professional, advanced industry. And so when I stepped out of the automotive industry and then was working with, non automotive and, small to medium and other industries, I noticed there was a big difference. There was a big difference in terms of capability, maturity, professionalism in terms of their processes and their systems. And I thought, wow, there's a real opportunity here to help these Australian businesses, particularly, to become more productive, become more efficient. And so that's what led me to found OE Partners, and it's been been just under 10 years now. Yeah, and we work with a variety of different businesses. Some big companies like like Amazon and Hitachi, Denso. So these global brands, all the way down to smaller businesses.
Amazing. So, Damien, you have a unique perspective as both the founder of OE Partners and as a co-owner of a manufacturing business. So, how does wearing both hats change your approach to solving problems for clients?
Yeah, that's right. So recently, at the beginning of this year, myself and a couple of colleagues, we decided to purchase a manufacturing business, so shed steel building manufacturing business. So yeah, I mean, the genesis for that was we do what we do, consulting, selling our services to clients to help them become more productive. And we thought, well, look, we should really be doing this also for ourselves. And so we've acquired a small manufacturing business. Is there a different perspective? I suppose, yeah. Not really. Look, the issues that we're finding in the new business are very similar to the issues that we've seen already in other businesses. And it's a full picture. It's not just the manufacturing process. It's not just the warehouse process. It's the whole of business, obviously, that we need to worry about: the marketing, the sales, the customer service, the back end administration as well. So yeah, it's all very important. There's no process in a business that's not important.
Yeah, that's great. So, tell us, with your years of experience as both someone who has worked in manufacturing companies and someone who now consults for manufacturing companies and someone who also co-owns a manufacturing company. Tell us, like, what are some of the most common costly inefficiencies that you see when you walk into a new manufacturing operation for the first time?
Some of the most wasteful. Look, I think generally speaking, if I walk into a business and it's not being very efficient, it's not being very productive, generally speaking, there's not a great level of control about what's happening out on the shop floor. So, what I mean by that is the work that's happening in the operations, it's not very clear, it's not visual. We don't have numbers to describe what's going on. Okay. The inefficient businesses, the work gets captured by sales, passed on to operations, and operations will deal with the best way they can. And very well organized and very efficient manufacturing businesses, that work will be really well planned. It'll be really well coordinated. There'll be a clear target to say this job should take us 16 hours. And there is measurement and control along the way to tell us if we're going to meet that target or not. And if we don't, we understand why we didn't. We figure out the problem and solve that for next time. That would be a common scenario where in poor businesses, they get the work, they pass to operations, they do the best they can. We pass it along to the customer and then on to the next. But the best will plan, measure, and try and improve for the next time.
Amazing. So, has there ever been a time in all your years of experience where a low-tech solution actually dramatically outperformed a complex and expensive one?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, in actual fact, that's more common than not. It's more common that a simple, low cost solution is better than a complex, expensive technical solution. So when we go into a business, we are technology agnostic. We are equipment agnostic, system agnostic. It doesn't matter. We're not trying to sell a piece of software or a brand new piece of manufacturing equipment. And so, generally speaking, what we find is when we map out the operation and try and create clarity, hang on, how can we get more out? How can we increase capacity? And you see, if you think of it like a pipe, so you have sales coming in one end of the pipe and completed jobs coming out the other. And there's all the steps in between. So if you want to get more water flowing through the pipe, you got to find the narrowest point in the pipe and make it bigger. Now, that narrowest point in the pipe may not require a big complicated piece of equipment or a complex system to achieve it. More often than not, it's, how do we plan the work so that it goes through reliably and the process isn't kept waiting, right? Or we've got one or two processes where they are always busy. We need to zoom in on those processes and try and make them more efficient through procedure, through fixing quality problems or whatever it might be. So it's very, very common that the simple, effective solutions are the best because you're targeting where the pinch in the pipe is. The first step is to understand where our work flows, where that pinch is, and then focus your efforts there. You may need some new equipment, you may need a new technical solution, but you also quite often don't.
Great. That's quite a really awesome illustration. Tell us, Damien, how do you convince a seasoned team to change a process that they've been using for years, especially when they are a bit skeptical?
Yeah, look, that's a common scenario, Ezekiel, and it's also a logical scenario, right? We're all adults. We have our experience, we have our knowledge, and if you're telling me I need to change, I want to know why. Why should I change? What's the benefit? Can you show, if you can show me a benefit, I will, I will change. So if they are skeptical around a proposed change, I try and reframe it a little bit and try and understand, where are we now? What's our performance today? It could be sales revenue, it could be productivity, how much do we get out every day, number of projects, number of jobs, etc. Where are we now? Can we get better? Do we need to get better? Are there competitors who are offering something similar to us and doing a better job for us? Can we improve our performance? Can we get more out? Can we improve our quality? Can we reduce our delivery lead times? If the answer is yes, we can improve what we do, or we need to improve what we do. All right, we can start a conversation about how to, and, some ideas what. But if the team can't see the possibility or don't have a good reason why, it's going to be tough to overcome that skepticism. So I would start there. Do you believe we can change, improve, get better? Is there a good reason why? If you can tick those boxes, then you're in a good position to start making some progress.
Awesome, awesome. So for the engineers and builders in our audience, what's the most practical lean principle that they can apply to their own technical work tomorrow?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of lean principles, making things visual, making things simple, easy to understand, going to the source of, if you've got a problem with a customer, with a part, with a machine, with some service that you deliver, go to the place where it's actually happening, talk, see, pick up what's going on, looking for systemic root cause all the time. Every problem we have is a process problem at some point, to some level. So understanding the work as a process and solving problems at the root cause. There's a lot, right? There's an awful lot of different principles, and I could give you another list of 15. Look, I think really one of the core principles, mm, is continuous improvement. It's just having that attitude, that belief that we can make this a bit better. We can make this a bit cheaper. We can make this faster. we can improve our performance by, a bit. If you always have that belief in yourself and in your with the team, and you put that into practice, right? That's what will drive just about everything else. Okay? That will lead you to keep going, to keep asking, making another step forward. So if I had to pick one, Ezekiel, I'd probably pick that one. Just that attitude that we can make it a bit better. We can continually improve it. We're not at the end of it. There is actually no end. There's always something, right? That's probably a big one.
Yeah, definitely a great one there. So, tell us, Damien, in your experience, what should I put it this way? What's the most overhyped trend in operational improvement, and what's a more reliable alternative?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. In terms of like overhyped solution, I have no problem with equipment vendors. I have no problem with software system vendors. That's great. The only thing I see again and again is that there is a solution being sold, be it a new software tool or a new piece of equipment or something, and it may do wonderful things. It may deliver fantastic benefits, but it also may not, right? And the difference between a solution that gives a result or doesn't comes down to process. If you understand your process and you know exactly where the weak links are, then you should go to market and look for a technology solution, a piece of equipment, some software. You know, understand your process first, then go to market with what you need. Then you'll get a good solution for where your process is actually being constrained. So, in terms of overhype, yeah, without understanding your process and just asking vendors for ideas, you'll get all sorts of ideas and hype and excitement. Will they deliver a result for you? You've got to know your process. That's the solution. You really need to understand how your current process is performing, where you can best apply your attention and investment and solutions to improve it. You can't optimize a broken process. Yeah, you can't just sort of throw solutions at something and hope that it will work.
Amazing. Tell us, what does a culture of continuous improvement actually look like on a day-to-day basis, and not just in theory?
Did you say coaching? Oh, did you say culture or coaching?
A culture of
Culture.
continuous improvement.
Yeah, sure. I mean, culture. It's a bit of a fuzzy term, right? If I asked 5 different people, what does culture mean in an organization? I would probably get about 12 different answers, right? So I like to, there's a simple model that I use to define culture in a business. It's what people, um, it's their attitudes that they have based on those beliefs and their behavior. Now, ultimately, as a business owner, as a management team, as a team member, you want the team to behave a certain way, to act a certain way. That's what's going to drive. That's what's going to drive performance. So, a truly continuous improvement culture is one where people firstly believe that yes, we can make things better, and they believe that because they've done it. They've actually seen a problem, come up with a solution, made a change, did it as a team. So they believe it. Their attitude then about improvement is going to be positive. And if someone asks them, hey, we've got a problem, can you come up with a solution? What do you think? How can we change it? How can we improve it? They are more likely to take action. Okay. So yeah, a genuinely continuous improvement culture is one where the team believes through doing that they can make positive change, and they've got a good attitude and they do it on a regular basis. So solving problems as teams, is really what does it. There's pretty much no other way. I mean, or there's no other better way, shall I say, to create a continuous improvement culture within a company. Decide a problem, get a team together, come up with a solution, make it happen. It can be a very small problem, or it can be a medium-sized problem, or it can be a big problem. The mechanism is the same. And if you do that repeatedly, that's what will develop a world-class continuous improvement culture. There's kind of no other there's no shortcut to it. You know, you can't take an Ozempic pill and become lean and efficient, unfortunately, with business.
Well, that sounds like a well laid out workflow. So, tell us, as a business owner yourself, how do you find the time and resources to work on improving the business and not just in the and not just in it fighting the daily fires?
Yeah, look, there's no easy answer for that. It's a challenge I think for everyone. You've only got so many hours in the day and so much resource. So, you've just got to do your best job at finding what problems are really going to drive the business forward. Like, what is going to give me, medium to long-term benefit? What's a process improvement? What's going to permanently change and improve the business versus what is day-to-day operations. Okay. So understanding, okay, if I invest my time in now, I will get a leveraged benefit for the next 3, 6, 12 months versus this is just a one-off operational task that has to be done. Okay. Can we proceduralize the latter? Those operational tasks, can we create a process and get someone else to execute it, like another team member, another resource, to leave you the time to focus on those problems, those opportunities that will drive the business forward? It's a never-ending battle. There's no, there's no magical solution, I think. But definitely some business owners are better at it than others. You look at people like Elon Musk or the like, and it's just phenomenal what they can do with their 24 hours in a day compared to others. But yeah, it's a constant battle.
Yeah, well, okay. So, tell us, based on your work across various industries and fields like the medical, defense, and construction. So, tell us, what's that one universal truth about productivity that actually applies to every industry?
Wow. I mean, look, there's more than one. I mean, the thing about work is there's so much analogy dependent regardless of the industry, right? And even like over time as well. I think the even the Egyptians, when they were making the pyramids, probably had the same problems as you and I do today in terms of the work and how to become more efficient, right? So some of these things, they're timeless. So, but to give you some examples, look, I think there's a few. One is you have to see the work, the activity as a process, right? It's very easy to get caught up in day to day. It's different today versus what it was yesterday. This person is reacting in a certain way, which is dependent on them. There's seasonal factors. We're busy now, but we'll be slow later. And it can very much feel like a whirlwind. Okay. And I think one universal truth is we have to see the work as a process, some kind of process, even if it's a really simple high level process, like we get the work. There's like some sort of marketing or sales function. We deliver the work, the operations, and we get paid, right? There's 3 steps. Now, you know, hopefully we can get a more granular, sophisticated understanding of the process than those 3 steps. But do you know what I mean? You have to start thinking of the work as a process, and sort of guide your team away from the feeling of, oh, it's different every day and it's chaos and we just have to roll with it. We have to fight fires. That's probably one universal truth. What else? Making things visual, making things simple and easy to understand. I think that's another a good principle that doesn't matter what the work is, that will that will benefit you. You know, give it to me simply, give it to me easily, draw a picture, show me a graph, show me a drawing, things like that. That will help. That will definitely help, regardless of the type of work you're doing or the process that you're taking. Um, yeah, and then continuous improvement. So yeah, there's a few principles that I think will benefit any process, any industry.
Amazing. Tell us, Damien, if you could only give one piece of advice to a leader trying to scale their operations effectively, what would it be?
Cool. Trying to scale their operations effectively. But look, around that point, scaling. Okay. Now, this won't be the case in every scenario, in every situation, but I have talked to many business owners, many senior managers, where they have described the situation where they grew quickly. Let's say they were doing 10 million revenue and they grew to 20, or from 20 to 40, or 100 to 200, whatever. And then they had problems, they had issues. They became inefficient because they didn't have great systems. They took on more work than they could handle efficiently, and it weren't as profitable as they expected. And in some instances, they were less profitable than when they had lower revenue, which sounds crazy, right? So I have heard that scenario many, 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 many times. So back to your point around scaling, what's the most important thing? If you're scaling and you want to double, get the foundations right. Get your processes clear. How are you going to execute? There's no point just taking on more revenue if it's not going to be efficient, if it's not going to be profitable. And because you'll either lose money or you'll burn your reputation, right? And neither of those scenarios are the outcome that you want. So yeah, if you're talking about scaling, I'd say, look, really understand your processes, and then
Amazing. So I have one more question for you. So I normally like to ask this question to all the guests I interview here on this podcast. So tell us, Damien, what does innovation mean to you, and how does it relate to your field in the world of manufacturing and physical operations?
yeah, look, I mean, innovation, it comes back to that core principle I was talking to you before, continuous improvement. Really, that's the driver. That is, I think, the best driver for relevant innovation in industry. So really understanding the work that you're doing, understand your customers, the real problems that you're facing day in and day out, week in, week out, etc. That is really fuel to your innovation engine. If you can really understand that and try and solve those real problems, that will be a real driver for innovation. That's coming from an industry perspective. If you're outside of industry or outside of day-to-day operations, and you're a researcher or you're a special innovation group, that's a bit different. You can maybe think a bit more broadly. But if we're talking about within an operation and driving innovation, talk to your customers, figure out what's annoying them, talk to your staff, what things get in the way, what things slow them down. That is going to be a goldmine of ideas for innovation.
Oh, well, that's a great one there. So to wrap things up, Damien, tell us, where can listeners go learn more about your work at OE Partners or connect with you?
Yeah, look, probably the easiest way would be on LinkedIn. Yeah, if you type in Damien Lacey OE Partners, I'm sure I'll come up. So yeah, by all means, connect with me, send me a message. Yeah, happy to connect.
Wonderful, Damien. It's been a really awesome conversation with you today, and I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Ezekiel. Great chatting.